and we would later find out about you when you rose to prominence as both not just the man behind Dilbert, but also a social commentator. You've studied it. Like, you actually are an expert in hypnosis, and I guess it's related the field of persuasion. So how did that come about?
Well, I got interested in hypnosis when I was a kid because my mother gave birth to my little sister while my mother was hypnotized. So instead of using painkillers, she just was hypnotized by the family doctor, who was also a hypnotist. Now, I'm not entirely sure if she told the story correctly. Maybe there were some painkillers there that I didn't hear about, but I was so impressed that when I was in my 20s after college, I signed up for an evening class to learn to be a hypnotist. And it turned out to be the most useful thing I've ever done. Second most useful is the Dale Carnegie course, different topic. But hypnosis changes everything because it gives you an understanding of persuasion in general, but more importantly, how brains work. And once you understand how a brain works on a practical level, it changes everything in the way you do things and the way you understand the world. The biggest reframe that hypnosis gave me is that I used to think that people were, we were rational 90% of the time, but sure, every now and then we get a little crazy, but basically we're rational creatures. Hypnosis flips that and says we're irrational 90% of the time, and 10% of the time for very unimportant stuff, such as what's the shortest distance to the grocery store? You can do that stuff with your rational brain, but the rest is rationalization. And once you realize that we're rationalizers after we make the decision, but we don't realize it, that's not how our mind processes our own experience. But science confirms it. The part of your brain that does rational thought gets triggered after the decision is made. So once you learn that, it just changes everything. And then I picked up a lot of the tips along the way.
Help me understand that. First of all, when you say the Dale Carnegie, do you mean How to Win Friends and Influence People?
Well, that's the book, but there's also a series of classes where you just learn to be comfortable speaking in public and speaking to strangers. Two things that are just enormously valuable in life.
Okay, I give myself that course in the context of practicing law, where they just throw you in with the sharks and you better swim or you're going to get eaten. That also works.
Although speaking of persuasion, the reason that Dale Carnegie works even better than what you described, because I've done that kind of training too, where they tell you what you did wrong. The Dale Carnegie course is only allow the other students and the instructor to say what you did right. That's the only rule. And I watched an entire class of people go from couldn't even get out a word in front of other people, like actually couldn't speak, couldn't even form sentences. And by the end of the class, we were all expert speakers. And I watched it, especially with one student who got up there in an air-conditioned room and sweat just came all the way down, dripped off the nose onto the carpet while she stood in front of the crowd. And we all sat there just horrified because, we know we had to go too. And it was just the scariest, most horrifying, embarrassing thing I've ever seen. And she meekly goes back to her seat, completely defeated, humiliated, embarrassed, beyond all repair. The instructor walks up to the front of the class and he says, "Wow, that was brave." It changed everything. Because we realized that what we'd seen is an act of bravery that we almost couldn't even imagine. It was so hard what that woman did. The next time she goes up, the next week, she had to volunteer again. She wasn't much better, but she got her words out. When she sat down, the instructor said, "Wow, that was way better. Like, you've really improved." By the 10th time she gave a speech, she was an expert. And I watched the entire class go through that process. And that's like the ultimate reframe, that if you just focus on what you're supposed to be doing right, it crowds out the thoughts about what's wrong. Now, the other process where you tell people what they're doing wrong, you're really working on the wrong problem. You're working on the specific thing they did. Let's say they had their hands in their pocket and they were jiggling their keys. If you say, "Don't put your hands in your pocket and jiggle your keys," all you've done is you've probably just transferred the tic to another part of their personality so that they use their hands too much or some other thing. But if you tell them that they did a good job, even if they didn't, just find something that's true that they believe, then they get confident. It turns out that being confident is what makes somebody a good speaker. And that's it. Because most people
I'm
can
so
have
interested in everything you're saying. Wait, I think it was interesting too that you said something that's true. So you can't do it with false praise.
No, because people know what's not true. But when he said, wow, that was brave, she knew that she did something super hard in front of people. She knew that was true. But we didn't know it until the instructor said so. It was phenomenal.
I want to hear more about this course. I didn't know, like, I knew the book, of course. Is the course still out there? Like, anybody could sign up, or do they have to be in New York City? You can do it online. Do you know any details about it?
Well, I think it's national. It's the Dale Carnegie. I think there's several varieties of the classes. And all you have to do is Google it and sign up for one near you. You just probably go at night, one night a week, 2 nights a week, something like that for several weeks. And they also teach you how to make conversation with people. In fact, this is one of my reframes in my book. If you have social anxiety and you're thinking, oh, I have to go to this networking event or this big backyard barbecue where I don't know anybody, it's just super frightening if you have social anxiety. But Dale Carnegie teaches you a conversation stack, a set of questions to ask anybody you just met that they will be comfortable with, and so will you. And you've created a situation where instead of going into a gathering and you feel like a victim, it's like, oh, everybody's better than me. Everybody's going to look at me. I'm embarrassed. You walk in thinking, oh, if I know these 5 or 6 questions, which are basic stuff, where do you work? Are you married? Do you have any kids? That sort of thing. Then you walk in and you say, I can solve problems for people. Oh, there's somebody who looks a little awkward over there. You walk right up to them and solve their problem. Hi, my name's Scott. What's your name? Why are you here? What brings you here? Where do you work? Are you married? Now, when I say those things, you say to yourself, nobody is going to be comfortable if a stranger walks up and starts interrogating them. But what you learn is that they are, because their problem is they didn't know what to do or what to say, same as yours would have been. But once you learn what to say and what to do, which is just go introduce yourself, say your name, look them in the eyes, and also use their name. That's another thing that they'll teach you. So as soon as they introduce themselves, put it in your head. And I like to use it right away. If it's a name I like, I'll say, oh, I love that name. Or I like that name so much I named my cat that. There's always something.
A tree branch hit a power line in Ohio, 2003, and it shut down 21 power plants. Around 100 people died. We have a power grid that was designed in the 1800s. Even the White House sees it. They're saying 2/3 of the grid are at least 25 years old. So they recently announced billions of dollars to update it. And how long will that actually take? That is why having your own solar power may be more important than ever. With the Patriot Power Generator, you get a solar generator that does not install into your house because it's portable, but it's still powerful enough for your phones, your medical devices, even your refrigerator. And right now, you can go to 4patriots.com and use the code MK to get 10% off your first purchase on anything in the store, including this power generator, Patriot Power Generator. You're also going to get their famous guarantee for an entire year after your order, plus free shipping on orders over $97. And a portion of every sale is donated to charities that support our veterans and their families. Okay, so go to 4patriots.com. Use code MK to get 10% off. 4patriots.com. Use code MK to get yours today. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.